Let's talk more about this then with Thami, chairperson of the South African Local Government Association in KwaZulu-Natal, as well as IFP Provincial Chair. Very good evening to you, sir. Grateful for your time. Is there any doubt in your mind that this killing in Nongoma was politically motivated?
Well, good evening, Tembegile, and to your viewers. Well, as SALCA in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, we normally believe that after the assassins have been arrested and prosecuted, we'll begin to understand the rationale. However, the worry we have is that in 1 month we have lost 3 councillors. And the unfortunate part is that we have been unable to establish for all the 3 that have been gunned down, including Councillor Ntuli, recently killed in Nongoma, on the rationale. We only rely on the findings of the Morane Commission, which suggested some of the factors that might be the cause. Of course, what you are suggesting that it could be politically motivated, there are chances that it is also politically motivated. We are therefore seriously worried that even whatever motivation may be informing the killings of the councillors, local government in KwaZulu-Natal seems to be an unsafe sphere of government.
And why do you think local government is where we're seeing most of this violence, if indeed even this killing and the previous 2 were politically motivated?
Can you come again?
Why do you think it is at local government level that we're seeing these alleged or suspected politically motivated assassinations?
Well, it happens in local government. In KwaZulu-Natal, we have never seen a situation where a sphere of government which is provincial experiencing the same scenario, and also at a national level. But in local government, this is what we're seeing. Hence, we don't want, in fact, to conclude on the rationales that previously said. We are relying on the findings of the commission that we had, and we believe if there could be arrest, we'll then begin to understand as to what are the reasons when those who are committing this kind of crime are being asked questions in the court of law. However, this is an action which we condemn in all its respects as SALCA in the province of KwaZulu-Natal.
Yet, there's still been a slow, or in fact little implementation, if you will, of what the Morane Commission of Inquiry directed officials to do. I mean, that commission, and it's worked out of the fact that in KwaZulu-Natal, there are areas where people know that that is where you go to find a hitman for hire, to hire an assassin. And every year, in fact every few weeks, we cover these stories of a councillor who's been shot dead. Some have been killed on their way to drop off their children at school. This councillor, Ntuli, was killed in her house in the early hours of the morning. Why is it that there's been such a lack of urgency in implementing what the Morane Commission of Inquiry said needed to be done to put an end to this?
I think the provincial government, in particular the development of culture, needs to really consider this urgently, that the recommendations of Morane Commission are actually implemented. The unfortunate part is that while we are calling for urgency, the level of attacking councillors, of killing councillors is rife, because you only hear or know about those who have been assassinated. But you'll find that more councillors have been tried to be assassinated and they escaped, and they are not a part of the report. Hence, as SALCA, we believe in the meantime, even the police needs to have some kind of urgency in ensuring that arrests are actually made, so as to stop this kind of crime which is committed in our province here in KwaZulu-Natal.
And your call is not a new one. Why do you think this time anything will actually change when, with the death of every councillor, there's been the same call being made to say to the provincial government, do something?
We will be engaging them robustly as we have been doing. We have been engaging them. We even engaged the national minister, and we are also calling a SALCA for all the councillors who have received threats to report those threats to the police, so that they do not take for granted the threats, because ultimately we see the number, in fact, escalating of the councillors who are being with attempts to be killed, and even those who have been killed. We'll keep on making a call, and we'll keep on engaging as SALCA, the stakeholders that has a responsibility to ensure that we try and stop this kind of crime in the province of KwaZulu-Natal. KwaZulu-Natal is not only unsafe to the councillors. However, SALCA were mainly concerned with our members. But even when you look at the mass shootings which are taking place in KwaZulu-Natal, they seem to prove that the province is a province which is not safe these days.
But it is unique in that, I mean, for example, Gauteng has a high crime rate, right? You talk about the crime stats in this part of the country quite often, but you don't hear as much about the assassination of councillors as you would in KwaZulu-Natal. You've got areas such as the Cape Flats where we know violence has been rampant, but you don't hear just as much there about politically motivated assassinations or the suspicion of anything to that effect. Why isn't the case in KZN?
I agree with you. That the level of crime in other highly populated places such as Gauteng may be higher. But when you look at the number of councillors being killed, it's not similar to KwaZulu-Natal. I think the problem with us in KwaZulu-Natal, the perpetrators, they go free, they are not arrested. If then there could be arrest, you recall that the National Minister of Police, whenever a police is killed, they will make a pronouncement for certain hours that a person should be arrested. If then that could be the case in this issue of the killing of the councillors in the province of KwaZulu-Natal, I think it will have its a bit, maybe ultimately make those who are planning and even those who are about to kill other people to fear that this is a no-go zone.
Do you think, Mr. Ntuli, that the killers get away with this because they're basically hired by politicians who are perhaps highly connected, and therefore that is why these cases just disappear with time?
Until there could be some evidence to suggest so, that's how then we can conclude. But for now, as I've said in the beginning, that we are relying on the findings of the commission. We don't have much on the table except for the cases where in the area such as Durban Metro, where you have a councillor who was arrested, where you have even a policeman who was arrested after killing a councillor, wherein we have those cases, in fact, which are still on trial, wherein we cannot conclude ultimately that these are the main factors, except to say the findings of the commissions, they are able to suggest some of the factors.
Thami, Ntuli, chairperson of the South African Local Government Association in KwaZulu-Natal, also a member of the IFP KZN chairperson there. Thank you so much for your time tonight.